A face that appears older than its actual age is performing its function perfectly. The nervous system has inscribed years of vigilance, worry, and restraint into it, and the result is exactly what it was designed to be: a face armored for the environment the body learned to expect. The problem is that the environment has changed, the threat has passed, the armor remained. This video will show how the face continues to sustain a defensive state that life no longer requires, and how expression begins to respond when the nervous system receives the message that it is safe to rest. Observe how the face of a young child moves. Every emotion passes through and leaves. The forehead lifts, the eyes widen, the mouth yields to a smile or to tears. Expression has mobility, texture, and living presence. Over time, the environment teaches restraint. The adult learns to hold back expression during difficult conversations, to maintain an impassive face when judgment is present, to control the jaw when emotion seeks a way through. Each of these acts of restraint becomes a micro-tension recorded in the musculature, and the muscles of the face have a long memory. This pattern of accumulated tension in the facial muscles, sustained by the nervous system as a defensive posture, is precisely what the guide, Healing in Motion, addresses in its earliest cycles. Through practices that restore the sense of support necessary for this containment to dissolve from within. If this resonates with what you are experiencing, access is available through the first pinned comment. Through polyvagal theory, Stephen Porges demonstrated that the face functions as an active part of the body's social engagement system. The facial muscles, eyes, voice, and throat participate directly in communicating safety or threat between human beings. When the autonomic nervous system perceives risk, this musculature contracts and prepares itself. When that state lasts for years, the contraction stops being a response and becomes a posture. It becomes a shape. It becomes an appearance. Bessel van der Kolk documented that the body retains what the mind prefers not to remember. Tension in the masseter, the forehead, behind the eyes, and in the platysma of the neck is an active somatic archive. The quiet discomfort of recognizing less of yourself in the mirror, the feeling of a face that appears more serious, more closed, more distant from the person who exists within, has its roots in this archive. And this archive responds. To understand what is at stake, we will explore the 5 structures that carry the visible cost of sustained vigilance. The masseter is the gate of containment. It is the most powerful muscle of the face, capable of exerting significant force on the temporomandibular joint. When maintained in chronic tension, it compresses the jaw, projects the mandible forward, and creates the expression many recognize as closed, heavy, and hardened. Above it, the frontalis muscle is the ceiling of worry, responsible for raising the eyebrows in signals of attention or alarm. When it remains in constant tension, it creates deep horizontal lines and keeps the gaze in a permanent state of vigilance, as though waiting for something that is still on its way. The orbicularis muscles of the eyes are the sentinels. They surround the eyes like rings and contract in response to any stimulus perceived as demanding. A narrowed, tightened gaze is the result of years spent reading the environment through the lens of survival. The tongue is the hidden seal. Pressed against the roof of the mouth, it elevates the palate, restricts nasal breathing, and keeps the sympathetic nervous system continuously activated. Most people spend hours each day with the tongue in this position without any awareness of it. The platysma and the sternocleidomastoid are the cords. These muscles of the neck and throat, when held in chronic tension, pull the face downward, compress lymphatic circulation, and contribute to the swollen, heavy appearance many people notice upon waking. The Hermetic principle of correspondence teaches that the inner and outer worlds mirror one another with precision. What solidifies within eventually becomes visible without. Alchemy calls this process coagulatio. That which was meant to circulate as expression, affection, voice, and presence becomes fixed into rigid form. Facial expression is a biological language that predates speech, more faithful to the inner state than any deliberate performance. The face functions as the biological altar of presence. Every state sustained long enough becomes inscribed as tension, shape, and appearance. When defensive tension settles in as a pattern, the altar becomes a closed temple, radiance blocked, presence compressed, vitality held beneath layers of accumulated containment. A hardened face tells the story the nervous system has lived. That story can enter a new chapter. Now we move into the ritual. It takes approximately 5 minutes and can be performed while seated with your feet resting on the floor. The sequence offers the nervous system a signal of safety at each point along the facial chain. Move at your own pace, without hurry. First, notice your face exactly as it is right now, without changing anything. Observe where tension is active, in the forehead, around the eyes, in the jaw, or in the neck. Simply register what is present. Next, gently separate your teeth. Leave a small space between the upper and lower jaws. This gesture interrupts the automatic state of readiness and alarm maintained by the musculature. Then, allow the tongue to rest. Let it settle on the floor of the mouth, behind the lower teeth, away from the palate. Notice how the depth of your breathing begins to change. Now, bring your index fingers to the masseter, the muscle located below and slightly in front of the ears. Apply gentle pressure and maintain it for a few seconds. Breathe. Allow the muscle to soften slightly beneath your touch. Gently lower your chin toward your chest and lengthen the back of your neck. Feel the length of the cervical spine being restored. Hold for 3 breaths. Exhale slowly, with your lips slightly parted. Allow the exhalation to last twice as long as the inhalation. Repeat 3 times. Finally, soften your eyes. Simply allow the muscles surrounding them to loosen, as though your field of vision were becoming slightly wider and more receptive to what is in front of you. Remain in this state for a moment. Your face is receiving a signal that, for many people, took decades to arrive. Practiced regularly, this ritual educates the nervous system in a different direction. Through repetition, the facial muscles learn that relaxation is possible, that separating the teeth is safe, that allowing the tongue to rest is presence, that softening the eyes is receptivity. The social engagement state, described by Porges, the one that produces an open, responsive, and vibrant expression, only emerges when the nervous system feels safe enough to suspend defense. The lighter face the mirror may eventually reflect appears when the body receives, repeatedly and reliably, the message that containment can release. The chains that run through the jaw, neck, diaphragm, and pelvis participate in the same line of tension. Releasing the masseter reorganizes posture. Lengthening the back of the neck frees the diaphragm. An expression that opens restores circulation, internal space, and a lightness that begins in the nervous system and reaches the surface of the skin. The key difference lies in interrupting, each day, the cycle that ages expression from within. Reversal begins before the mirror. It begins with recognizing that the face is holding something that can be returned, and that this return depends on biology, repeated signaling, and presence. If this video brought you something worth continuing, leave your like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. Write in the comments, "I release the years my face has carried and allow my expression to breathe again." The manual Healing in Motion is available in the first pinned comment for those who wish to explore this path more deeply. Stay here and continue watching. There is much more to discover about how the body stores and releases what it carries. The face you recognized in the mirror as looking older was, in truth, a loyal body. It preserved every necessary defense while the perception of danger was still real. Releasing years from the face means recognizing that this guardian can finally rest.